Hello and welcome to this video number 8 in the series on how to use Excel for admin use. In this video, my name is Johnny Nielsen, and in this video, I'm gonna take you through two types of conditional formatting. First of all, I want to have some, the whole purpose of conditional formatting is to make your sheet a little bit more user-friendly and make your eye get attention to some certain cells. So when we look at the status here, there's a lot of different things put in there. Well, actually, it's only three different kind of things: identified, in process, and completed. But let's imagine that you had 100 rows or 200 rows, it can get a little bit blurry to the eye to see if it's identified or not. So I want it to be easier for the eye to spot what status it is. So I want to use some color coding. I want it to be, let's say, green if it's completed. It could be red if it's in process, and blue if it's identified, or it could be any other color that you desire. But let's just try to do this from now on. So first, I put myself here in the cell that I want to do something about, where I want to put in some conditional formatting. And then I click on conditional formatting up here. There's some presettings already that I can use for different kind of purposes, but I don't want to do that right now. What I want to do is simply just to create a new rule, and the rule, when you do that, and you should know that if you're on an Apple computer, on a Macintosh, the Excel looks a little bit different than mine here. I'm sitting here in a Windows computer, and when you're on a Windows computer, it looks like this. But it's pretty much the functionality is the same. It just looks a little bit different. So here I choose format only cells that contain, because I want to. It's only the cell containing completed that I want to do something for. Then I choose here. Um, it needs to be equal to. You see, I have a lot of different things to choose, but I want it to be equal to. And then I simply just go click here in my drop down, and I go in and decide what it's supposed to be. So let's start out with the completed. Or we could start from the beginning saying it's identified. Let's just do that. And when I do that, go up here. I go in and select the formatting. What kind of formatting do I want? I want it to be uh, blue if it's identified. Blue filling, and the font, it's hard to see black writing on blue, so I'll change the font to be white. And then I'll say OK. So this is what it's going to look like if it's something that's identified, a darker blue than it is already, and the funding changing to white. Then I click OK. Nothing has happened here because it doesn't say identified in here. I'll add another. So now I can go down to manage rules. I can see the one that I have here. This here, it says apply to this single cell here. In fact, I want this to apply to all of these cells. So let's just click here, click apply. And now you can see that where I have identified, it actually changed. So I want to add a new rule here. I want something to happen if it's in process. So again, format only cells that contain. I change down here to equal to. I go up and say, well, what does it need to be equal to? It needs to be equal to in process. And if it's in process, I click on the format button. What do I want to happen? Well, the writing should be white. The filling should be changed. So let's put an orange filling in here. Click OK. And I click OK. And then I'll change the range here. Again, the range should be like this, like that. I'll click apply. And the color coding is already applied. Now, the third thing I want to do is I want to have some coding again, cells that contain for the completed ones. Once again, what should it be? It should be equal to my drop-down list, completed. So if I change the wording over here, it'll still work. Go in here, I set the formatting, and this time it should be green. Again, the font should be white. I'll click OK, so it'll look like this. I click OK. And again, it should be applied to all the cells I have here. It's a good idea when you do something like this that you have a small sheet with not too many rows when you build your sheet, and then you can add on rows afterwards. Like this, and I click Applied. So now I've added some simple color codings here. That makes it more easy for me to see what the status is of the different fields. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work with my deadlines. I put in the beginning, we put in a column here called deadlines, and I want this one to help me see if I exceeded a deadline or not, but only if it's not completed. So first thing I'm going to do here is we need to type in some deadlines. So let's do that. Let's just start typing some deadlines. Okay, so now we've filled in some deadlines, and as you can see, some of them are way past due. Remember in the beginning when we built the sheet, we put up here in row C, cell 2, we put today's date, and today is February 21st, 2019. So we have some deadlines here that are way past that. It doesn't matter if we already completed it, but if it's not completed yet, then it matters. And breaking deadlines may have some consequences at the end. So we need to be alerted somehow. We need to know if this date is past past today's date. So how are we going to do that? Well, we use conditional formatting. And how to do that? Well, again, we go in and we add a new rule. And this time we add in a formula to tell us something about this, about what's going on. So first of all, we're going to use the form and equals, and then we start with the parentheses. And then we go in and say, well, we're going to be looking at this cell. If this, and since I'm going to make sure that this goes down, it's not just linked to this one, but I want it to apply to all of this. I'll lock the row, but I'll not have the cell locked. So I'll look if this cell is greater than 0. I'll just move my marker here so you can see what I'm doing. And besides that, it's not the only thing I'm going to look at. Besides that, I'll look at this cell again. And again, once again, I'll remove the $sign here and say, is this cell smaller than the cell up here with today's date? And please note that I leave the $sign on both column and row on today's date. The last thing I want to look at is the cell right here that says completed. Again, I don't want to lock the row, I just want to lock the column. And I want to make sure that this cell, the completed cell, is 0. And once I've done that, I'll end my parentheses. And then I have my form. First, I see, is there anything in this cell? If there is, then what's in this cell, is it smaller than today's date? And is this cell here empty, so it's not completed yet? So that's what I'm looking at, and that's what I ask the form to do. Now, it needs to scream to the sky saying, hey, something is wrong here, right? So I'll make sure that the font is red. Maybe it should even be bolded. And the filling, it should be yellow, because now it's really screaming. It's really screaming, hey, look at me, something is wrong here, you need to do something. Okay, so I click OK. Oh, where do you go? Conditional formatting. Ah, there it is. So, and then I want to change the range. I want this to apply to everything in this column. Then I click Apply. And as you can see, here's a date that's in the future, nothing's supposed to happen to it. Here is another one. Not surpass. We didn't surpass the deadline yet. Here's one where we passed the deadline, and the deadline is before. Yeah, this today's date. Today's date passed the deadline. Here's another one where we passed the deadline, but it was completed, so nothing happens to it. And you can see that that's how it works all the way down. Okay, so click OK here. And now we've been using conditional formatting. And this is how conditional formatting can help make your Excel sheet a little bit more visible, a little better for the eye to notice things that you need to pay attention to in your Excel sheet. My name is Johnny Nielsen, and this was it from this time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and good luck with your Excels.